Here I want to show you the template that you're going to use to create your outline, and then a sample completed outline that I have graded for a student this past spring. So here are the instructions in bold. You want to complete the following graphic organizer to create your outline. It should be typed in MLA format, and this means I want you to put an MLA heading and double space your outline. Don't delete the words in bold in the template, but do delete these instructions. Use a complete sentence for the thesis statement and each topic sentence. So, right, when you create yours, you want to be sure to put in your MLA heading. Sometimes students get in a big hurry and they forget that, and so you don't want to forget that. You want to be sure to do your MLA heading, and then you do want to delete these instructions right when you finish. So everything that's in bold here at the top, I don't want to see on your completed outline. I should see your MLA heading and then whatever title that you have decided to give your essay. You don't have to stick with that title, but I want you to think of one that you would possibly use. So you must have at least 3 reasons with 4 quotes for each on your outline. And you must have quotes from a critical source or sources and from the primary text or text for each reason. Right? So they're a mixture of a quote from a short story as well as a quote from a critic. You want to put the author's last name and page or paragraph number for a quote from the story or stories, and the author or authors' last names and page or paragraph number for a quote from a critical source. I want you to be careful when you might find a critical source, an article that people collaborated on. So it could have 2 authors, perhaps even 3 authors. That's fine, but you can't just in your paper or on the works cited page, you can't just choose the name of one author. You've got to tell at least the last names in the body of your paper, the author's last names, right? All of the author's last names. So be careful on that. Don't think there's 2 authors. Oh, the first one listed is the most important. That's the one I'm going to use in my paper. No, you've got to say, let's say something like Gonzalez and Tran argue, because that was the last name of the 2 authors who collaborated to write the essay. All right. And then be sure to format long or block quotes correctly. And I have posted information on that in Blackboard. So excellent papers will synthesize information from different sources in the body paragraphs, not just use one critic in each body paragraph to support one reason. So that is really excellent work when you can say, oh, these 2 critics say similar things, and so I want to use first what one critic says, and then I will explain that, and then I will talk about what another critic says that has not exactly the same point, but something along the same lines. That shows that you're really thinking about the sources that you're using. So just remember that you must use 4 critical sources in your essay and have 4 full pages for your final draft. So you need to have sufficient support. Right? That's why I'm asking you to have this many quotes in your outline. So if you don't have 4 reasons, that's fine. You only have to have 3. You're going to delete that part of the template before you submit your outline. Just a reminder to use present tense verbs in your outline. That'll make it easier for you to do that in your essay. So only when you're quoting, right, will you put that in the past tense. But when you're talking about literature, you're going to write about it in the present tense. And don't use you. Remember, you can use we, you can use I, you can use readers, they, but don't address readers directly by using the word you or your. All right, so here, again, you're going to think of a possible title of your essay, put that here. And then I will have already approved your thesis statement. All I want you to do is type it in here. Again, maybe I might have made some suggestions. You might have changed it a little bit, but all you're going to do is put in your thesis statement that you should already have right here. Again, leave in the words thesis statement, start after the colon, and type yours there. Leave the bold in here, don't take that away. So you want to have, this would be the topic sentence of your first body paragraph. And that would be the first reason the thesis is true. Right? This would be the first point that you would make to support that thesis, remembering that you're going to put it in the same order that you listed the information in your thesis statement. Right? Okay. Then you want a quote from the story or a critic that supports this reason. And then at the end of that, you want your citation. That doesn't mean the whole MLA works cited page information. All you need to put here is the author's last name and then the page or paragraph number where you found it. Now, again, you can take out, you don't have to start right here. This is not bold, so you can take this out and, just start from the quotation marks here, since you're going to be using a quote. Right? Don't take out the bulleted points. All right, so then after that, you want to explain how this example proves the first reason. Okay, so you could start here, or you could take this out and just explain after this bullet. Then you want another quote from the story or a critic that supports the reason. Again, the author's name, page or paragraph number in parentheses, explanation. Another quote, explanation. Quote, and explanation. Then you go on to your second reason the thesis is true. So again, this will be the topic sentence of your next chunk, right? The next section of your essay. It may not be, you may have split this first reason into more than one paragraph. But that's okay. But here's where you're going to move on to the next major point that you're going to be making. Right? And again, you're doing the same thing. You're going to have a quote from the story or critic, cite that, explain it. You have to have 4. Same thing for the third reason. Right? You start right here. You type your complete sentence. And then you give the quotes and the explanations. Now, what you won't have here is the introductions to the quotes. Right? You don't have to do that, but you do have to put it into your paper. So if you have that fourth reason, here's where you'd put the information. If you don't have it, you're just going to delete all of this. And then finally, for the outline, all you had to do is have your concluding sentence. So this is basically a summarization and restatement of the thesis and reasons using different wording. Now, when you write your essay, you want to have a strong concluding paragraph. But here, all I'm looking for is one sentence. So, don't forget to take out this information here, the instructions. Just put your MLA heading, insert the page number, and then type your last name. For a sample, here you can see, right, the student, this is the name changed, but as in all of the samples that I use. But you see the page number, last name, and typed in a space that was inserted. Then you have your MLA heading. Again, this is a previous class, so that's what you can tell from the section number and the date. And here was their tentative title, was Untouchable Desire, their thesis statement. And you notice here this is a graded outline. So if you see something in red, that's where I have put that information in and that I wanted them to correct when they wrote their essay. And so they'd left out the word A in the title, so I put that in red so they could easily see it. That's why I want you to email it, your outline to me instead of submitting it on Blackboard, so I can easily put in these things and you can read them and see them. So then you can see, right, they started here and they have their first reason the thesis is true, their topic sentence. And then they've left in again the bulleted points. Here's the quote. And then they have the last name of the author, the page number. But I reminded them, don't italicize the last name of the author. You don't have to do that, right? You don't just write that, type that in regular text. Then they explain it. So the same thing, they have a quote, other quote from a critic, and they have got the last name of the critic, the page number. Of course, in their final draft, they're going to be sure to not italicize the author's name. And you can see this again throughout. So they've got their quotes, and then they have, again, the citation for those quotes. Again, you can see where I have corrected some things, but again, they put in their complete sentence for their topic sentences. And here there's a quote from the play itself, and they had left out the author's name, so I put that in for them to remind them that they're going to put that in their paper. And then I corrected a few things along the way here. But they have 3 reasons. They don't have 4. That's fine. They had their concluding sentence. In conclusion, Willie never gave a second thought to his dream. Instead, he got lost in the illusions he created for himself, rather than seeing the ugly truth that is reality. Right? So that's a good concluding sentence. But again, in your actual paragraph, you're going to elaborate on that. Remind the reader some things that you think that are important for them to consider when they are considering the whole of your paper and the points that you wanted to make. Right? So again, make sure that your outline looks like this one.